Okay, it's the Roseanne commentary. I'm here with Charlie and Dave once again. And Charlie, this con guy cameo was actually part of a Family Matters bit that got cut because I thought of another joke I liked better. If you're interested in seeing the Family Matters bit, it's in the Season 2 Outtake Special, which is now available on Channel Awesome, and I will make it public on YouTube soon-ish.
Yay.
But, yeah, the angle of that was also...
Yeah, I remember you didn't really like the angle that I shot it at, and I couldn't reshoot it for whatever reason.
You still lived with your family at the time in Canoga Park, yeah.
And for a while, I was wondering why you had this particular clip, and then Weird Al.
That's the only... I was actually the one who taped this off the TV when it first aired in 2000, and I put the entire interview on YouTube under a different name, and it is a trip. It is a trip. Like, her first question is, why are you so funny? Like, thank you, Barbara Walters. What a breaking new ground in interviewing right there.
Well, Tony, I've been meaning to ask you, why are you so funny?
You know, it was a tragedy that happened to me as a child, I think.
Well, I'm sorry to dredge up that horror from the past.
And I gotta be fair, I cheated a little using the bits of the Roseanne interview because she doesn't ask Al if he wants to have sex with her right after telling that horrific story, but they both happen in the same interview. And speaking of out of context, the bit of her saying "Home on the Range," the bit of her on the Home on the Range press tour saying it's not something anyone would like was not in reference to the movie. But it was just, I took it completely
way too perfect.
Yeah, exactly. It was way too perfect because Home on the Range was not something anyone would like terribly much. R.I.P. Big Thunder Ranch. Shot there because at one point there was serious talk of giving Big Thunder Ranch a Home on the Range theme had that movie been successful.
Because there was a cow over there, as I remember.
They were going to change it to Little Patch of Heaven. And
there's an alternate Disneyland where we're petting cows at Little Patch of Heaven right after riding the Atlantis submarine voyage.
Exactly.
Don't hurt my heart, man.
Yeah, and, in Disney World for years, they had a cow named Minnie Moo, which was a cow with, like, the Mickey emblem on its side, like just was born that way, and I guess the farmer said, hey, I can sell this to Disney, and indeed he did. And
I love this always.
And apparently Minnie Moo led a very comfortable life at Disney World until she finally died. So,
and then they ate her.
And we just passed the Always Sunny reference, which I
really good gag.
Yeah, because that really is kind of the modern day equivalent of Roseanne. And this Sarah Chalk gag, I don't know why this was the case when they shot it, but yeah, my guess is that Lacey Goranson wasn't available to do the Florida shoot for some reason, so they had to get Sarah Chalk for it. Because
there's a line in the actual episode, like right after that, where she says something about like, I want to go to Disney.
Aren't you glad you showed up this week?
Yeah.
And yeah, this was a challenge for me, at least when I wrote the first draft. As time went on, I kept thinking of more and more stuff, but when I first watched the episode, I remember thinking, this is already pretty damn funny. It's you know, there's not, or at least it's very much, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very much irreverent in the same way my show is irreverent.
You can't really riff it because it riffs itself already.
Yeah, it's not cutesy like Full House. It's not inexplicable like Family Matters. You know,
like
it's
this
just
shot
kind of
right here following that clip, which I'm guessing wasn't your editing.
That was my editing.
Oh, that was your editing.
Yeah, it was my editing to cut to the plane immediately afterwards.
Okay.
But that's why I said you barely needed me for that. Argo clip right there of him saying Universal City.
You did get a lot more material for this after including the Edelweiss Gardens.
This was one of the few that I shot very little of it in Florida just because I didn't think of that much material, and I thought, well, this will just be the end of the Family Matters episode, and it'll be Family Matters and Roseanne go to Disney World, but it ended up being so damn long that it became
every
its own
series
episode.
got its own episode.
Except the Disneyland series at the very end.
That's also the Andy's mom joke for Laurie Metcalf.
Yeah. That was one of the few I thought of for Florida. And what were we talking about? We got sidetracked. That's going to happen a lot in these commentaries.
Meta jokes. So tying it back in with Laurie Metcalf.
Exactly. And this, of course, shot at the Grand Californian at the same time we shot the same bit for the Full House.
That was the beginning of our big Magic Kingdom shoot.
Yeah, exactly, because we met at the Grand
Californian?
The Grand Floridian.
You said California.
I misspoke.
But it's
I'm
themed
sorry.
after a hotel in California, so nothing makes sense.
That
Yeah,
is true.
exactly.
Oh my God, that's right.
The Grand Floridian. Yeah, we met at the Grand Floridian and then took the monorail to
The
to
Grand
Magic
Californian.
Kingdom.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Sure. And you got anytime John Goodman is running, you got to do a Barton Fink reference. Barton Fink, amazing movie if you haven't seen it. And I've noticed that any joke in which any repetitive joke that I tell, my commenters will repeat back to me at every available moment. The biggest one, of course, is the new Twilight Zone Tower Terror, the new Twilight Zone Tower Terror.
The new Twilight
But
Zone Tower Terror,
I
the
do
new
get
Twilight
King
Zone
Ralph
Tower
quite a
Terror, the new
bit.
Twilight
People
Zone
just
Tower
randomly quoting King Ralph to me just because I reference it so much in this episode. As a repetitive joke, the fact that King Ralph exists is a joke in and of itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, have you seen King Ralph? I actually watched it to find clips from it. It is inexplicable. It is like there's no build to it. Like there's no big climax whatsoever. It's just like the big climax is literally him giving a speech, and
Okay, this shot.
and they somehow got Peter O'Toole for it. Anyway.
This shot I remember getting. This was very early in our very long Epcot day.
Yes, because we were also shooting 30 years of Epcot.
Yes, the park was not very full, and this corner of the park especially was quite empty. There was a cast member outside a gift shop who was incredibly entertained by this bit.
Yeah, and I wasn't even yelling. Because I knew I would dub it in later because it was just a silhouette of me, and yeah, this.
My name is Ralph, and I'm the king.
I wanted to find a clip of him wearing that and the crown, but no such clip exists in the movie. There's him wearing the crown in the bathtub, and then him wearing that regal gala stuff, but none of both, which surprised me. And that always looked like a bong to me. I don't know. Am I crazy, or does that?
No, it could be turned into one.
Definitely, yeah.
Not that I would know.
Oh, and we just talked over a World's End joke, which
Yes.
came out like I think a week or so before this episode came out, and it was just kind of a last minute. Okay, I got to make a World's End reference.
The World Showcase.
The World Showcases End.
And then the joke
And
where
the
you brought up
many
the
out of
juror.
Germany.
The juror, yeah, which was such a dumb like play on words thing. And this is where the movie clips kind of climb up each other's assholes.
But
And-
it works though.
If you say so. I'm not sure I'm such a fan of it now, but the whole
See, but it works because
this is just me trying to think of more stuff in editing and trying to make it more, crazy and interconnected to each other.
The reason
I think
it works for me-
what saves it is that there's another King Ralph reference at the end of it. It's like that because you're laughing so hard at that you forget that all the
and fucking
dumb
Nazis
stuff.
just fits so well.
Exactly, indeed.
But also, I just like.
and of course, Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
Tying it into John Goodman.
But also, I just like picturing a world where Christoph Waltz was actually on Hogan's Heroes.
Oh my God.
And this is Jared coming up punching me. I call him Fist of Justice in the credits because he's always there to knock. And there was a lot of clips of him. A couple of times my direction to him was to punch his fist in front of my face, and I would fall out of screen. But a couple times he actually accidentally connected with my face and actually hurt me a little. But it's all for art. Pain is temporary, film is forever.
Yes.
Or whatever this is
Web series are forever.
It's until YouTube gets shut down or blocks this video for copyright.
Oh man.
Until
Oh,
Blip
and
dies.
this bit, we only got one take of this because I was afraid to get a second, but that was actually filled with water, which I wanted for the weight of it, so it looked better. And I'm throwing it into a bush, and after we get that one take, which fortunately worked that well, I remember seeing security go over to that area because
I forgot about that.
Yeah, because I think security was told, oh, someone's defiling property or something, but we got away with it just fine. And here's Jared and Mikey. I think this was shot the same day as their cameos in the infomercial parody.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Disneylandia.
So.
I want to say so. I could be wrong about that, however, because Mikey did visit us quite a lot in this period.
Well, this was before I lived here, so.
Oh, yeah.
So I couldn't tell you. And it's also a game show that doesn't have me dancing in it, so I just
Right.
don't pay attention.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I'd assume that you'd still be dancing in front of like the World Showcase
Yes, I'm
Lagoon.
still dancing at World Showcase while this is happening.
And this is the most excited Mikey's ever been, and of course we had to... It does look like they're fucking, doesn't it? You know, like in
Winnie
the
Pooh
Roseanne
and-
clip,
okay.
This is where the ad went in Blip after Mikey steals my wallet here.
I'm disappointed that I haven't read any Mikey and Rosen fanfic after this episode
Yeah,
came out.
that would have been nice. Shovel.
Big Thunder Mountain, see the fireworks at Epcot, and that's it.
Now this is
Serious, that's it. No bullshit.
basically
drama, no dumb
about
hardcore
as much
references
plot
to
as
Disney
Escape
World
from
stuff.
Tomorrow,
Yeah.
except more enjoyable.
More enjoyable and not stretched out mercilessly to 90 minutes, and
Covers all the same themes of dissatisfaction with the artifice of a theme park once we get to Edelweiss Gardens here.
yeah, exactly. Which I didn't
I
know
swear
that-
that's Mike Nelson. I mean, I know it's not, but that roommate of his looks so much like Mike Nelson.
Well, earlier when I cut from the cast member in the park to the cast member in Edelweiss Gardens, that was a real cast member apparently when they shot that in Roseanne, and the guy in the Edelweiss Gardens episode, like apparently. I think the Disney World stuff was like the first thing they shot all season or something, and then they went back to the studio to kind of build an episode around it and make fun of it later. And I didn't learn even that the Edelweiss Gardens episode existed until after I got back from Florida. So all that stuff is after the fact. And I specifically asked Mike Bennett, aka the guy behind or the guy under Phil Bunny rather, if I could include a cameo of him for that, and he said. Yes, because it means I don't have to do anything. But I specifically asked him, like, how old is Phil Bunny? Because I want to do the birth to death thing. And the fork and knife we stole earlier that day from Flo's in Cars Land. I remember. But he specifically said, well, Phil Bunny is ageless. So I just okay, before time started there. And I'm so glad that this specific clip from the Home on the Range press tour, the only clip from the Home on the Range press tour I could find on YouTube for some reason, had that perfect clip of her saying, and I'm the fattest cow in the wilderness and in the farm, and it's perfect,
Now, obviously, Edelweiss Gardens is mostly a targeted satire of Disney World, even though the aesthetic and name are all evoking Busch Gardens, Virginia.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Its juror theming is all very Busch Gardens.
Indeed. And I do, and this is the opinion I have, that when she said, this place wants to be Disney World, which I know was probably, a compromise in the writers' room of them saying, okay, well we can't make it look too much like we're mocking Disney World, so we have to put that line in there. But in my opinion, it does kind of ruin it. And this was so much. And this is Jared. Jared's in this episode a lot. He should really be on this commentary. I don't know why. But yeah, that's his. That's the shadow of his head looking down on me, and as he's holding the camera, of course. And that's Morgan holding the Star Wars blaster, which of course he can't use in the parks anymore. And there was an outtake where she accidentally knocked my glasses off, which is also in that. Which is also in that outtake special. And that I think is the best ever use of a fake bullet hole that I've ever used in these that ended up looking so good, in part because I cut to black so soon.
That was another, I think, perfect edit on the show. Just once you incorporated the saving Mr. Banks, the damn, and since you already established the damn.
And the Winnie the Pooh
episode.
thing, I knew I couldn't impersonate Sterling Holloway / Jim Cummings at all, so I just gave up and said, fuck it, I'll do it as Keith Richards. Why not? And
I once had this is a true story about me. I once had a dream that I could do a Sterling Holloway impression. I had never been so disappointed to wake up.
aww.
Oh.
And the little collar thing is a Disneyland parking pass, which we tore off on the day, and that was a thing we I forget what we used as adhesive. I guess we used whatever we had available to us as adhesive, and it didn't quite work. And there's a couple takes where it fell off or it slipped. And
Okay, so this is obviously the parking lot of Hollywood Studios, because I got those big things of Swiss cheese from the supermarket for you.
Right. You're my cheese wrangler on
And
this shot.
we didn't want to bring my cooler into the park just for the one shot with the Swiss cheese.
Yeah, and And one of the comments I got on this video was, "What does Swiss cheese taste like?"
It's like Siri,
or I guess like a big block of it would taste that much different from just a slice of it. It's like it's cheese,
still
just
Swiss.
And I had to change this for YouTube. Originally, I put "Little Patch of Heaven" by Katie Lang from Home on the Range over the end credits, but when that got blocked by YouTube, I changed it to Roseanne singing the national anthem at that baseball game, which was a big old damn news story back then. I remember. I was only a kid, but I remember people just flipped out over it. That was back when it didn't take that much to insult Americans at that time.
Yeah,
apparently now.
Also back when she was dating Tom Arnold?
Something like that, yeah. So that's Roseanne, and we'll see you tomorrow for Step by Step.
Day by day.
We can't both do the harmony.
See you at Six Flags.